All right, welcome to the first episode of the Hair Replacement System interview series. I am very excited to get this podcast started. So, in this podcast, I will be interviewing a gentleman who goes by the name of Muscle Lad, who began losing his hair at the age of 16. Now, before I go on, how did this whole thing come about? Personally, earlier today, I was feeling very self conscious, doubtful, and unconfident because my hope is that people will listen to this and it will help them in their hair system journey. And I was just feeling a little unconfident because this is the first episode. And in the back of my mind earlier today, I was feeling scared. Because what if someone gives me a negative comment or insults me, which I hope doesn't happen, but I think doubts, lack of self-confidence, and thinking we're never good enough affects us all and prevents us from stepping outside of our comfort zone. It plagues me just like anybody else. And I was feeling a little self-conscious and scared. And as I'm saying this, I just feel so silly because the Monty I know really doesn't give a shit about what other people think. And if there's a hater out there, then so be it. I will just show love to that hater, ignore that person, and move on. However, the truth is, the biggest doubt I feel is that will this actually help anyone? Or will people insult me? Will what I put out help anyone? For me, I think this blog is an evolution of my experience with wearing full time. It's a journal of sorts because I truly love the hair system lifestyle and helping others transition to wearing one and living a lifestyle that's optimized, that takes less time, less effort, and yields the maximum results. We have to understand that for as long as I can remember, I have always had thin hair. And because you focus on it so much, you stop appreciating the other gifts you have. For me, I notice the women look. I notice the barista treating me differently. I notice men looking at me with respect. Perhaps it's all in my head because I hit the gym, I'm on top of my goals, and as a result, I am more confident, happy, have a cheerful presence. That vibe of positivity just comes across and people respond. Just like anybody else, I like to be liked. I like to be wanted. And the hair system, whether directly or indirectly, gives me that. And that is one of the reasons why I put in the hours to make this blog as valuable as it can be. So I have decided to accept the hate, dislikes, negative comments, and I won't let it affect me. I understand that some people are just mean-spirited, and that has nothing to do with me. I'm a fan of Curtis, the guy who runs the Hair Experience channel. And he gets negative comments all the time, but he just brushes it off and deletes the comments. I will do the same because hair system lifestyle is bigger than me. It's about helping those who are seriously scared and struggling to make the transition. It's about those individuals who have made the transition, but it takes them forever on a daily basis or weekly basis to maintain what they have. I want to help those who are struggling to make sense of what is happening to their hair, why they are looking worse every single time they look in the mirror, why everyone else around them looks youthful at 16 while they begin to look like an old man, why they got a disease that makes their hair fall out and others didn't. The disease is bad enough, but now they have a disease and look unhealthy and old. I want to help the younger Monty who was being made fun of because he's looking 50 at the age of 25. If I can do my small part, then I will. And I hope I can do my best to help. So in this episode, I want to introduce to you a very special fellow who began his hair loss experience at the age of 16. Life can truly be brutal at that age when you're confused about your body, the opposite sex, growing up, and Muscle had all the above and hair loss to deal with. Before moving on to the interview, I just want to thank Muscle Lad for sharing his experience and giving back to the hair system community. You are truly an exceptional person. Let's get to the interview. Musclead, can you describe your story when you started to thin out? What was your initial reaction, and how did you feel about losing hair and eventually being bald?
I started losing my hair when I was 16, but I really started noticing the thinning when I was 17 years old. While it was obvious to me, no one else really noticed the thinning and receding hairline, but I started to panic as my hair was important to me, and I thought it played a major part of my look. The thought of going completely bald was a thought I didn't want to face, but I knew that was going to happen, unless I did something. I thought my sex life would be over and my ability to attract a mate would be next to zero.
What were some of the things that you did to mitigate your hair loss?
At the age of 17, I started with Rogaine, and as soon as I turned 18, I saw my doctor to get a prescription for Propecia. The doctor wouldn't prescribe Propecia to me because I was too young, but I was desperate, so I started doctor shopping to get it. I ended up getting Proscar after seeing 3 doctors. However, my experience with Proscar was not a positive one, as I didn't feel right downstairs, which only seemed to get worse the longer I was on it. But the worst part for me was it seemed to help with my hair. The hair loss slowed down dramatically. I was now in a predicament. I have a choice: have great hair and no sex life, or have a great sex life again, but be bald as a cue ball. I persisted with Proscar for 6 months because I thought if I'm bald, I'd never get a partner to have sex with anyway. But eventually, the thought of not feeling like a real man got to me, and I resigned myself to being bald and decided to quit the Proscar. Thereafter, I had a massive shed and started using Topics to cover the balding patches. That's when I started looking online for an alternative.
I think none of us consider a hair system as a viable option to cure our hair loss, but eventually, as we learn more about it, it begins to look more promising. Can you describe your journey to getting a hair system?
I started searching online for hair loss solutions that did not include Propecia or finasteride, and I started to come across hair systems. It really did sound like the solution for me, so I booked an appointment at a major hair clinic that specialized in hair systems. I met the consultant, who was a young man wearing a very realistic hair system, and he had me sit in front of a video of other guys who were wearing hair systems, playing sports, swimming, and getting with hot women. When the consultant confessed he was wearing one and then showed me a photo of what he looked like before having a hair system, I was pleasantly surprised. He looked so much better. That transformation was enough, and it convinced me, and I was on board. This was the solution for me. While the transition to the hair system was a bit risky because the hair system looked so much better than my balding hair, I just told everyone I got myself a new haircut and they believed me. At 21, I was wearing a toupee. Shocking, I know, but at least I felt more normal. To this day, I don't think anyone knows the hair on my head is not my own.
Now that you've been wearing for a few years, do you think that getting a hair system was a right choice for you? Do you have any regrets? Is it all that you initially thought it would be?
Yeah, I do think that getting a hair system before my hair loss got too bad was the right decision for me. It made me feel normal and like a relevant part of society. I thought wearing a hairpiece would be a lot easier to detect and even come off. But as it turns out, it's almost impossible to come off completely, and detection is largely up to me. Keeping the piece fresh, blending with my real hair, and maintaining the proper color in the piece.
Have you ever had any close calls where someone may have discovered that you were wearing?
Yeah, I've had a couple. A guy at my gym noticed something was up with my hairline after it came loose after a heavy workout, and the glue had completely melted and the lace lifted, totally busted. Also, 1 or 2 intimate situations which I won't describe here.
Can you describe your current hair system setup, lace or skin, or what kind of density you have, how you attach, use tape or glue, and what is your maintenance schedule like? Do you detach every week, go to the salon for a new piece cut in every few months, go to the barber every week? Can you just elaborate more on that?
Currently, I'm wearing an all lace unit attached with tape around the sides and back with glue for the front hairline. I totally remove the piece once a week, and I touch up the hairline 2 to 3 times a week. Usually, I get a new piece 4 times a year and have the color adjusted and matched once a month if required. Usually more often in the summer.
Has having a hair system prevented you from doing anything that you may have wanted to do had you not had one? For example, you're scared to go snorkeling or scuba diving because you're wearing a hairpiece?
I always think twice before doing any physical activities, especially if I've been sweating or the hairline hasn't been freshly attached. I've rarely given up any activities, except for bungee jumping, but, I just make sure I have a fresh attachment, no longer than 24 hours between the attachment and the activity, just to make sure that everything is secure.
Thank you, Muscle for taking the time to answer these questions. Very, very insightful. So that's it for this podcast. If you'd like to share your story to give back to the community, please reach out to me at monty@hairsystemlifestyle.com. Until next time, keep taping, keep gluing, and keep living an optimized hair system lifestyle.